Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us to How to Drive Leads to Your Agency. This is one of our Build Your Agency webinars. And again, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Bernard, and I'm the General Manager for SEO Reseller. I've been working with a lot of our agency partners for the past 7 years. But, incidentally, we've been doing webinars for 2 years, and I've gone on webinars, and I know that you guys have heard Joshua go on webinars. But we've never really done a webinar together. And because in the past few webinars, we've been talking about new features that we were building for you, what better way to introduce those features than to have the guy that builds and concepts these features out for you guys? And so Joshua is joining me today. I'll have to say, though, my job title is pretty generic. Joshua's got really the more innovative job title. So I'll let him introduce himself.
So hey guys, this is Joshua, and I'm sure you've received a lot of my emails over the past few months. I've been an SEO reseller for the last, I think, 3 years now, and I've been learning a lot from Itamar and Burns. But yes, this is the first time that we're doing a webinar together, which is interesting because we built the build your agency webinar. We built this specifically to help a lot of the new agencies to really grow and really thrive as an agency within SEO reseller.
And we feel that the best way to help you guys grow is to show you guys how you should be developing in stages. And that's why 3 webinars ago, we taught you guys how to sell local SEO, but we thought we would focus you on the first thing you needed to learn, which is the prep. And that's why we covered the ABCs of effective prospecting, which is you selecting the verticals that you would service, how to prepare the profiles that you have, what should you be perceived in the industry, and how to immerse yourself in that industry. And then on the previous webinar, Itamar took the time to sit with me, and we discussed how to build a killer agency website by establishing your connection, by leveraging a human touch, by being able to leverage 100% of your communication abilities. And I'll go through this on the next slide. But today we're talking about how to drive leads to your agency. And then next time we're also going to talk about how to captivate your audience. But today we're going to talk about passive and active lead generation that you can close in order to boost your business. So on the previous webinar, we talked about how to create a human connection on your website, or how to synthesize a human connection. And we said that, create a video. Just create a video of yourselves answering the most important FAQs or something that genuinely conveys the message that you have for your target audience. Try to leverage social proof. Proof of performance is awesome if you guys have your own case studies or use our private label ones. But it's best that you get your genuine testimonials and your own performance testimonials onto your website. We also mentioned items like visual proof, use the website portfolio, add it onto your website, use the dashboard and leverage that as visual proof. And then, of course, lead generation mechanisms. We told you guys to get out there, shake hands, close sales, get email addresses, use the audit widget, install it onto your website, and other features. And, there's more to enhance. Like in this conversation, I know that we previously discussed talking about how to build trust and how to develop your expertise and how to build authority in the verticals you intend to service. But there's really more to it than that, and we'll cover a lot of that in this conversation. Now, 2 webinars ago, we talked on step 0, the prep, and we talked about focusing on a niche. And on focusing on a niche, we talked about how to pick a vertical to service, how to develop your unique selling proposition and communicate that onto your website, how to create social proof, your persona. If you can Google your prospects, they can Google you. How to research your competitors in order for you to figure out which verticals are easy wins and who have really mature competition that are well entrenched in that vertical and in the industry. And then, of course, you developing your own expertise. Researching your prospect is easy. You can research the business or the industry by Googling it, and then finding opportunities and making these opportunities visual to your potential customers by showing them how your service can help them increase revenue, beat the competition, or gain better market share. But Joshua's got some more very targeted activities that you guys can do.
Well, the biggest thing is that once you have already identified the niche that you want to target, once you're already focusing in this specific niche, the biggest thing that you can do now is really immerse yourself in this niche. And what do we mean by that? We really mean that you're basically surrounding your everyday activity with information or getting information from different sources specifically to your target niche. And the way you do it is, for example, if you are targeting real estate in Dallas, then you create Google alerts, and you join Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups that are focused in this specific niche. This way, when you log in on Facebook, when you log in on LinkedIn, or even actually when there's any new news within that particular niche, you get an email, you get an alert, and you see what's happening already in that niche, and then you can relate a lot more. Over the years or over the months, you're actually going to develop a deeper understanding of your chosen niche and what they care for and what they need.
Right. Now, before we move on, just two things. There are tactical advantages to doing these activities, and we'll dive into it later in the webinar. And so pay close attention to what we mean when we say joining Facebook groups, joining LinkedIn groups. But also when it comes to industry news, I would go back to how to sell local SEO. And one of the tactics that we taught you there was cheerleading, meaning your clients expect you to be the bearer of news. And when you're the first to know and when you're the first to educate them, I can't even express how valuable that makes you as a provider, as a partner. And so I strongly encourage that if you aren't subscribed already to industry news, get subscribed. Get Google to alert you whenever there's anything new about it. Now, moving on, let's talk about what the meat of this conversation is going to be about. And this is really one of the biggest challenges that agencies have, regardless of size, regardless of age, and how well entrenched you might be. Agencies can never stop developing its pipeline. And so we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about how to passively generate leads, how to actively generate leads, and then what the right way is to reach out to these leads. So to put things into better context, because we have been doing these webinars, I think this is the fourth or the fifth one in the series by now. At this point, we expect that you should have already closed your first handshake sale. If you've already closed your first sale via handshake, you're listening to the right webinar, because that means that you are in a position to acquire referrals. You've already met people at industry events. You've leveraged your existing relationships, and you've leveraged people within your social network. The revenue from your first sale is what will fuel your ability to create your pipeline.
But Bernard, what if I'm in this webinar but I haven't sold anything yet?
Okay, so great question. If you haven't sold anything yet, I would say go back to the other webinars and see if you've missed a step. So that's the first thing that you need to do. But B, if you already have the existing resources to pour into these marketing efforts, then by all means, do the actionable tips that we have for you during the webinar. So let's talk about passively generating leads. And I know I'm hogging the mic a lot, but we're really going to talk about some of the areas of expertise that I personally evangelize. Putting relevant and helpful content on your website, social properties, and anywhere else your target audience can be found in order to draw them to your product or service. The name of the game is being there when they're ready to buy. And, you know, SEO is tremendous at this. But I know it's at this point of the webinar where you're saying, well, of course he's going to talk about SEO. Of course you're going to talk about content marketing. Of course you're going to talk about PPC and social media. But I promise you guys what we're going to try to teach you are strategies versus just outrightly selling you a service. So let's get started and let's talk about SEO. If you guys have listened to any of our other webinars before, then you already know I am an evangelist for search marketing. SEO allows you to be there when your customers are ready to buy. It's a tremendous tool for driving free traffic, or ultimately free traffic, to your website. And it can be a one-time investment if you do it right. Your content needs to be uniquely valuable to the vertical you service, meaning it cannot estrange the people that are consuming that content. Obviously, more search visibility equals more relevant traffic equals more qualified leads. Now, if you're not an expert in SEO and you don't know which keywords to begin, one of the hacks that you guys can do is you guys can dive into the search console and look for the queries that Google presents you as a search result for. This means that the search engine already understands your relationship between that keyword and your business. And those are your low-hanging fruit in terms of SEO. Update your content regularly because this allows you to leverage freshness. If you are thinking about doing your own SEO, what we would recommend is investing about 16 to 20 hours of your time into the optimization of your own websites. And if you have the resources to pour into it, a realistic budget to pour into SEO, especially when you're getting started, is about $300 to $1,000 every month. Leads from search have a close rate of 14.6 compared to the 1.7% close rate of outbound marketing only. And this is something that got published by Search Engine Journal. Let's move you on to a second strategy. And this one, Josh is the expert in, so I'll pass the mic.
So if Bernard is your biggest evangelist of SEO and SEO reseller, I'm your biggest evangelist of social media.
That's true.
But even I won't tell you that. Even I won't say that you will get your first clients in social. What would happen though is that you can lose your first clients in social.
True.
The biggest thing that you have to make sure of in social media is that given that you're building a digital agency, you have to be found in the social media sites that your clients are going to be looking for. If you go to the events and you advocate for your agency, these companies will check on the different social media sites if you're actually in these sites and if you're actually active. A client won't trust you if your Facebook is not claimed, or worse, if you don't have a Facebook page. So build a Facebook page first and foremost. Do some activities for it. Post once or twice a week. Get everyone to like it. Your friends, your husband, your wife, your cousins, everyone that you can meet to like it. And then make sure that it represents your site or your agency accurately. So the second part in social media is that since you've already identified your niche and since you've already focused on your niche, social media is also the best way for you to target that niche. And the way you do it is that after this webinar, you can actually, if you already have identified your niche, then write down the characteristics of your niche in a piece of paper, then go to Facebook and create your audience so that then you're targeting that audience. And I believe Bernard can also talk to you about what you can do about the emails that you've collected.
Right. We are going to be talking about that later. But remember that in the previous webinars, we talked to you guys about going to events, shaking hands, exchanging business cards, running site audits, and collecting emails galore. Those have a tactical function in today's webinar, and I'll get to that. So this is a teaser, and there will be something you guys get out of this. But let's move on to content marketing. Remember that the function of content marketing is to get your content consumed by your potential customers. And we are advocates of the framework of the Hero Hub hygiene model. Hero content for SEO reseller, for example, are the webinars. The webinar would be one of the biggest content driving activities that we do on any given month, which means its hub content would be 3 teaser pieces of content pre-webinar, and they would also be the blog posts that we create after the webinar. But remember that the key to content marketing is consistency. Yes. And if you made a commitment to posting or communicating your thoughts, your ideas, your content to, let's say, 3 times a week, then you need to maintain that discipline. Because, again, the name of the game, like SEO, is you need to be there when your customers are ready to buy. And if you can't afford paying for paid ads or remarketing, the best way to get in your user space when they're ready to buy is to do your content marketing. Hygiene content is really just filler content that is somehow related to your Hero and Hub content, but it's there for the sake of consistency. Create specialized content that serves the needs of your leads. If your vertical is, take for example, if you are in the auto dealership industry, then you know that their target market is highly visual in nature and that they are highly visual in nature as well, which means the kind of content you create must be specialized to the needs and expectations of that audience. And then what are the steps that you do in order to stay in their face until they're ready to buy? And again, the trick here is consistency. Great content is great content. It allows you to attract new eyeballs.
I was actually attending a SEMrush chat last night, and there was a good question about this, and I'm going to ask that to you now, Bernard. The question was specifically, do you focus on building a high quality content once a month, or do you focus on building weekly content for consistency?
Okay. And so I think the answer to that is you do both. But I think it's highly important that the Hero Hub and Hygiene content don't prescribe creating 20 pieces of amazing content, right? It recommends creating one piece of amazing content, X amounts of lead-ins to the content, X amount of follow-ups to the content, and then X amounts of discipline content, which is what hygiene content really is. Great content attracts new eyeballs, gets you recognized, and may incidentally rank you for certain keywords, especially if it's really good. But they're not always going to be there. And what keeps you in the face of your potential customers when they're ready to buy is your hub and your hygiene content. So both are important.
So I guess the key takeaway here is that in content marketing, strategy is very important. And again, you go back to your niche. Knowing your niche will make your strategy for content marketing much more powerful.
Right. So another activity that you guys can do when it comes to passively generating leads is, of course, AdWords. And I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but you can get started on AdWords for as low as a $50 budget. AdWords is highly targeted. The first time you set up your account, the first thing AdWords will ask you is, what radius from your location would you like me to display the ads in? And that's very amazing because what you can see is that feature was not there before. It used to be a specialized feature. But what you guys can see is that Google is realizing that the value of their product benefits small to medium businesses the most. And so they have built the interface to make it friendly to small to medium businesses. If someone were getting started on Google AdWords and you're operating off of a limited budget, what I might actually recommend is that you begin with the Google Display Network first, because what you want to do is content market, get people into your website, drop a cookie, and then follow them with your ads later so that you're there when they're ready to buy. The Google remarketing feature is a great alternative to consistent content marketing, especially since content marketing requires a lot of time investment. So be there, put your brand in their face until they're ready to buy. This is a cheaper alternative. It targets a specific area, and you can be as specific with your target demographics as you want, and it's very, very budget friendly.
So I have a question with, well, a lot of different agencies that we've worked with over the past few years have the similar question. So we've talked about SEO, social media, talked about content marketing, and we talked about Google AdWords. And their common question is very simple. I know all of these are very important, but where do I start?
Okay. We will actually answer this later on in the conversation, but I guess let's take a look at this slide because that's a great question. For a budget that is as low as $300, let's say you just started off your agency and there's a limited budget to operate off of. What we would recommend is, of course, let's think about it from a sales funnel. The first thing you want to do is drive awareness to your brands. Facebook advertising, Facebook remarketing, and content publications on Facebook are significantly cheaper and have a wider reach than SEO could ever generate for the same amount. And so we might recommend that this is where you start off with. Try to get your $300 budget and segregate it into Facebook marketing first by allocating $150 a month. Get new eyeballs and people to drive traffic to your website. From your website, manage their experiences, attempt to capture their login information, attempt to capture their email addresses, and then get new leads and build more social proof. What do you do with the remaining $150? Well, if your Facebook campaign does what it's meant to do, which is to drive referral traffic to your website should drop a cookie in their browsers so that your brand can follow them around for the next 30, 60, 90 days. It allows you to be top of mind when they're ready to buy.
So remember our first discussion in this presentation, we discussed about focusing in your niche. And in focusing in your niche, that means that you're really identifying all the characteristics of this niche, including the location. And now these characteristics, that you would use this heavily when you're doing a Facebook advertising, then eventually Google display remarketing. At the same time, Bernard was mentioning a while ago about the emails that you gathered from the different events. And the way you use it now is that both Facebook and Google can actually take in those emails. And then if you have enough emails, you can create similar audiences in both platforms that you can now target and gain more clients or more leads.
And this is where you really add a lot of value to those emails that you had acquired.
Mhm.
Remember that in these events, you're going to shake hands, but no one is expecting you to close 100% of the time. But that doesn't mean your brand cannot stay top of mind to the people that you've met. Drop their email addresses in Facebook and remarket to them. It's a big lost opportunity if you don't do that. And so it's highly important that you've got a repository of where all your leads are in one place.
So you already are building your SEO. You're doing really good content marketing, and then you're following her suggestion for doing social media, and then retargeting via Google Display Network. Now, the biggest step next for you is to make sure that the visitors that you're getting to your landing pages or to your website are actually converting. And by converting, meaning you're actually getting their contact information so that you can now follow up their information and get them to close eventually. So how do you do that? You do what it's called you implement what is called a lead magnet. And a lead magnet is essentially a highly valuable piece of content or information that you can use to exchange for your leads contact information. And I believe Bernard has a really good analogy for this.
Now, if you guys remember how to sell local SEO, one of the virtues that we taught you there is offer value first. This is what your lead magnet is. It allows your brand to offer value first before the first dollar is exchanged. You're already giving them industry insights, competitive analysis, ranking reports. You're already giving them insights into what could be technically optimized in their websites. Again, all of this is happening before the first dollar is exchanged. Actually, I have two favorite lead magnets. Now, just to give everybody a background, a lead magnet in fundamental marketing parlance is what you call a marketing hook. It's what you offer for, in exchange for their information, right? You can't just drop a box there that says, leave your email here and expect people will do that. This is your test drive. Also on how to sell SEO, I mentioned a sales adage where less than one car per thousand will get sold, per thousand foot traffic will get sold in a car show, but test drives will convert 3 for 7 customers. Your lead magnet is your test drive. You're getting them to get to try out the first experience with you. You're getting them to try out your expertise. You're getting them to try out what it would be like working with your brand. Now, Joshua mentioned I've got two favorite lead magnets, and I do. My top two favorite lead magnets are, and this is not necessarily in any order, is the first one is Moz, and the second one is Google. Moz's lead magnet is you can register on their website and request that they send shirts, tumblers to your office.
We have a lot of those in the office.
Yeah, and all you have to do is drop them your office address, your email address, your phone number. And that is your business info, right? And then they can continue to market to you. Moz actually got us to sign up to 2 of their tools, and we've been paying for them for the past 4 years. In short, whatever they invested in those shirts and those tumblers has already paid off before the first year was through. The second one is even better. You guys are all familiar with Google My Business, right? Google proactively listed when Google Local was created, or Google Places was created rather, Google proactively placed 60 million businesses inside Google Maps. And so that's why you guys get to see listings where there's a button that says claim my listing. What do you need to do in order to claim your listing? Give Google your email address, your business address, and your phone number so that they can verify the existence of your business. And I would say that was a tremendous lead magnet because a lot of people have since then registered and given Google their information proactively. These are some examples of some great lead magnets. And for you guys, we built a few. The site audit tool is a great lead magnet that you guys can use. So let's talk a bit more about lead magnets and how to use them.
If you don't have any lead magnets yet, or you don't have anything in mind, the last slide actually indicated that we have a downloadable lead generation kit for you. And in that particular kit, we have several white papers that you can use to attract businesses to convert in your page. So in designing a perfect lead magnet, what you really want to do is that you identify the needs of your future leads. Do they have any website? Do they have any social media? Do they have any relevant listings? The basic thing is what is the information that is going to be most crucial for them, or that they're going to be willing to pay for, and then you provide it for free in exchange for just your contact information. So a great sample of this is, for example, a competitor analysis, a web design portfolio, a social media audit, an SEO analysis audit, or yes, actually, even our newly released site audit widget that you can use via the free partner plugin.
Right. Now, I think one thing to keep in mind when you're trying to acquire people's information is remember the less fields, the better. People are more likely to give you some information when you're asking for 2 to 3 fields than they are if you ask for 7 fields. They're more likely to abandon your contact info. So let's talk about comparing lead generation methods because we talked about essentially 2 schools of thought. One is you passively generating leads, meaning getting your leads to come to you, or these are what we call warm leads. But the other one is reaching out to cold leads. And this is you actively investing your time and your effort in order to begin the relationship with them. So let's start talking about, because we've talked a lot about inbound marketing or warm lead generation, let's talk about cold lead generation and how to get that started. So on outbound marketing, actively generating leads requires you to begin contact or begin the relationship with your prospects. And you cannot do this empty-handed.
So there are three big things really in generating leads actively. The way you do the reason why you do active lead generation is very simple. You control the pace and how many leads that you're gonna get based on the hours that you invest in this particular activity. So the first thing that you do is really you search for the lead, you qualify the lead based on their needs, and then you find a common ground for you to talk to. And we're gonna walk you through all these different steps in the next few slides.
So let's talk about how you manually find leads in your niche. The easiest one, of course, from a search marketer is you Google them, right? And I would say a bit of qualifying comes in here because when you type niche plus location, so take for example real estate Dallas. Let's say that's the niche you wanted to service, or let's say you wanted to type in dental practice Jacksonville. These are examples of verticals. Oh wow, housing contractors Round Rock would be an example that you might want to use. When you perform a Google search for these verticals, there's one trick to immediately knowing who's qualified. You go to page 2 of search. Because obviously the guys on page 1 already know what they're doing, right? So your opportunities are on page 2 and onwards. Visit the website of every potential client that you find and then find out, is their website mobile responsive? Because they might need help there. Remember, Google says over 60% of traffic is now on mobile. And then does their content provide value? Is it content that looks like it could rank on search? Does it speak correctly to their customers? Are they attempting to capture leads from their website? And if not, tell them that. Check social media for their pages. If it exists, is it claimed? If it's there, does it look professional? And this is where you can give your professional advice. Remember, you need to be the pro that your potential clients will rely on.
Remember when Bernard mentioned a while ago that Google pre-created 60 million different business profiles in Google My Business? That is also the biggest way for you to generate a lot of different leads. So what you do is go to Google or to Yelp or to Facebook or to other local listings, look up any business in your niche, in your location, and see if any is claimed, if the business is actually claimed. For every listing that you see is not claimed, it's a qualified lead.
Right. And then, of course, you try to mix and match all of these together. Now, because you're already doing a search on Facebook, might be on LinkedIn, you need to try to find the decision maker for that business, and it's easier than you think. If I were searching for anybody on LinkedIn, I would just go site colon linkedin.com, name of business, and then job title. So I might look for marketing director, CEO, and whatnot. But that's what I would do in order to find the decision maker. Now, remember, you need to mix and match. You need to find out, can you offer website a website build for this person, or a new website if in case it's not responsive? Can you offer SEO services because they're on the second to third page? Can you offer Facebook services because you realize that they're doing no advertising on Facebook, they have very weak reach and very low engagement? And then, of course, you can also take a look for their business listings. Are they proactively listed in several places, but they're not claimed? This is, again, a service that you can offer. Now, remember, qualify the leads. The more needs they have, the more qualified they are. The more needs you can address, the more time you should spend in attempting to contact this lead. Do they have a LinkedIn profile? You're going to need this, and you're going to see this in the email sample that we created. Have they claimed their Facebook page? Do they have a claimed Google My Business listing? Are they listed on other relevant listings like Yelp, Yellow Pages, Bing, and so on and so forth?
So, Burns, I have a couple of other questions for you now. So I followed everything that you did. I focused on my niche. I found 100 leads via Yelp, Facebook, and Google My Business. All of these leads haven't claimed their business yet. Do I now send emails to these leads?
Okay, great question. You don't send emails yet. What you do now is you find something in common. All your emails must have a lead in. If you don't have anything in common with your potential prospect, you're just a stranger, right? And it is incredibly difficult to sell to strangers. But if you have something in common with the people in the vertical that you service, it becomes incredibly easy to put your foot in the door. So research the person, the owner, what their contact information is, the decision maker. Find out what you have in common. Do you guys follow the same organizations on LinkedIn? Do you have the same connections? Do you follow the same thought leaders, the same organizations? And these are common ground. They're foots in the door.
So when was the last time that a stranger sold you anything?
None. I am very hard to sell. If you're a stranger, I am incredibly difficult to sell. But I will buy from an amazing salesman. There are some salespeople that I see just deliberately leverage sales tactics, and I will entertain them, and they wind up closing me. And I like that. I like that when I see them practice cheerleading, when I see them practice consistency, when I see them deliberately looking for common ground. I may give someone a sale just for the sheer respect of their salesmanship.
So the biggest thing that a couple of things that you have to remember here is that first, there's thousands of marketers sending cold emails every day, including to your target niche. And the way that you differentiate yourself is to find common ground. And second, at the end of it, you're selling digital marketing. And you're selling digital marketing to businesses. And businesses will not buy something from someone they don't know.
Right.
They are basically putting you in charge of the growth of their business. And if they don't know anything about you, how can they trust you?
Right. So all things being equal, we will buy from our friends, and that got mentioned several webinars ago. And that's why in this specific case, you have to be an expert on two fronts. You have to be an expert in digital marketing, but you also cannot be a stranger to their industry. And that's why we said subscribe to the Google Alerts, go to Google News, be the first person that's informed, share this information with your potential leads. So once you've done the search on Facebook, on Yellow Pages, on Google, and then you've qualified them based off of these are the people with the highest level of needs, and these are the people with the lowest level of needs, the next thing to do is to formulate how you will introduce yourself. And this is where the foot in the door phenomenon comes in. What kinds of emails can you send to nurture your leads? Well, people are responsive to educational content, promotional content, content marketing that's really unique or interesting, and industry news, especially where it relates to competitiveness.
I have a question for that. So, Burns, when you found a common ground, what do I do in the first email? Do I sell you in that first email?
Okay, so rule number one, do not attempt to close via email. In fact, we even said, do not attempt to close via email. Remember that at this point, you only have two objectives. A, to get your email open, not marked as read and not marked as spam. And so that's a win if your email gets opened. And this is why maybe a boomerang is very useful, or you using MailChimp, because it actually tells you whether your email got opened or not. And then the other one, the other bigger win is if you actually get a response. And that's why your email has to sound very natural and very organic. Uh, when you guys are sending out material and you're being consistent with your communication, create a schedule for your email sequences and then send emails within the appropriate time of day. If we're going to believe MailChimp's data, MailChimp says that the worst days to send emails is on Mondays and Fridays and on peak deletion hours. Peak deletion hours being the first 2 hours in the morning and the hour right after lunch. So let's another tip that we can give you guys is to not just randomly contact people, but set up a Calendly link or a scheduling tool that you can use in your emails. So I wanted to with that I wanted to wrap up, but I also wanted to make sure that inside the kit that you download there is a sample email that you guys can use, and so I'll sort of give you guys a demo of what that sample email says. It actually starts off by saying hi name. So let's say hi George, and then it begins with, I noticed that you and I have the same connections on LinkedIn and follow the same groups on Facebook. I went to the industry event at event name and event place, and I was really looking forward to shaking your hand in person. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, it seems like you and I didn't get to meet face to face. So I thought I'd drop you a line. I'm a digital marketer specifically for vertical, what the industry niche you service is, and I've been doing this for about a year, and I've helped a couple of businesses in the local area. I wanted to offer you an obligation-free consult. If any of this information might be useful to you, or if you'd like me to dig in to how well your competition is doing, let me know, and I'll schedule you for a call. That's what it sounds like. You're only selling a test drive, just a call. And you have to begin with, I noticed we have the same connections on LinkedIn, and we follow the same Facebook groups, or we're part of the same Facebook groups is even better. But that's the lead-in that you need.
So to emphasize this further, remember past few slides we discussed that you have to focus in your niche, immerse yourself in your niche, and then we also told you that you have to immerse yourself on the leads that you're talking to, know a lot about them so that you know how to talk to them. You combine those information in your cold email. So you personalize the cold email that you send out to your leads. So this way, you differentiate yourself from the thousands of emails that they receive on a daily basis.
Right. So I guess let's move on to the wrap up, because so far we've talked about, or at least we gave you guys a review on focusing on the niche, because this is really important. Immerse yourself in the vertical that you intend to service. Don't be a stranger. If you guys are dealing with physicians, speak their language. If you guys are dealing with startups, speak their language. Leverage your personal connections. Two of SEO Reseller's first agency partners were guys that both had dads that were dentists, and all their clients were dentists. This is a great way to leverage your connections. The next one is we talked about passive lead generation, and again, of course, we talked about SEO and social media and AdWords and content marketing. And then we talked about active lead generation, and active lead generation is you beginning the relationship. You finding which businesses need the opportunities and just might not be aware that you offer these opportunities, and you getting in their face and then staying in their face when they're ready to buy. And that's the whole key to communicating with your leads. Personalize your cold approach by finding common ground. You need a foot in the door. A stranger sounding email will not get opened, will not get replied to.
So this is our shameless plug, but this is not yet available. This is going to lead to webinar link or a waitlist link actually that you can subscribe to so that you get more information about this new offering that we're providing. But in order for me to discuss this, I want to ask a couple of questions to Bernard. When we started SEO Reseller, who did we target?
When we started SEO Reseller, who did we target? I'm trying to remember. Our marketing tactics 7 years ago were very guerrilla. And, I cannot talk about this without getting my eyes wet, because I remember Itamar's tactics, Clayton's tactics when he was still part of the company. So we had a lot of guerrilla tactics, but we were really just gunning for any agency. I think everybody will agree, SEO as an industry 7 years ago was nowhere near as robust as it is now, and people were not nearly as educated as they were now. So I think how we found our leads primarily was with SEO, because how easy is it to tell people you're good at what you sell than by them finding you, by you using your own service, right? We're good at SEO, and then they go like, well, how do I know you're good at SEO? Well, how did you find us? You Googled us, right? And 8 out of 10 times that was true. And in the rare cases, in the rare 1 to 2 times where that wasn't true, it was a referral from another agency. So that's how we got started.
So, and over the past few years, because of our SEO, we've received thousands of inquiries about basically how do you start a digital marketing agency. I've got a lot of emails or calls from people who, and I was surprised for this. We have a lot of partners who are actually Uber drivers who wanted to start their own agency. People who are still employed with their own current employers right now, but they're starting to build their agency, and they want to know more information. They want a lot more help in order to grow their agency. So what we did and what we've been doing for the past year is to build a lot of the agency solutions that we can provide for you. This is the reason why we had a killer agency website the last webinar. We know that one of the big needs is to help new entrepreneurs or new agency heads to create their first website. So we provided the basic agency website that you can get from the store. Now, the next thing that we're building is a premium agency solution. I will not discuss the details yet, but what it does is that it allows you to find leads easier, qualify them better, and close them faster. And how does it do it? There's a lot of different tools that are connected to it. And in one specific price range that we're going to release eventually, you will be able to get lead generation, marketing automation, and then the white label resources that you can use in order to close your leads and then also establish your expertise within this market.
So essentially, the premium agency solutions is in beta, and there are about a handful of clients that are already beta testing them with us, because one of the things that we've always had the benefit of doing is we have very responsive agency partners. And whenever we wanted to test something, a handful of them get chosen, and they give us feedback on how to build it right. Even the way the dashboard looks now comes a lot from the voice of our customers, our partner agencies. But essentially, what the premium agency solution is it automates everything, or at least a lot of the things that we talked about inside this conversation. The lead generation and qualification tool essentially allows you, in the click of a button, to do the Google search, do the Yelp search, and do the Facebook search without going to all three platforms. It also tries to figure out how qualified they are as a lead by figuring out, so who's got a good search presence, who's got a great website, who's got claimed listings, and who does not, because it's the does nots that are the ones that need your services. And by marketing automation, what we mean is, remember how we said, how do you communicate with your leads and how do you communicate with them consistently? This tool synthesizes the discipline that you need in order to communicate with your leads in a scheduled way. So the slots are still full, but that doesn't mean you can't get on it. And so we strongly encourage that you guys follow the bit.ly link in order to get to the wait list if you're interested in pilot testing this tool out. So, and with that, we conclude this webinar, and we're open to your questions. So thank you very much for everybody that joined, and we'll allot a couple of minutes to the questions that you guys send over. And we've got a few. So I guess I'll get started on the first few questions. Okay. So someone said, if I want to reach out to a cold lead, do I have to do it through email only? Can I use LinkedIn for it, or can I just email them? Yes, you can use LinkedIn for it. A lot of people actually use their professional email addresses on LinkedIn versus their Gmail accounts. So I would use LinkedIn if I was really interested with someone. Take for example, when I want to recruit someone, when I see talent and I want to recruit them, I usually don't reach out to them via their email addresses. I reach out to them via LinkedIn. So yes, you can do that. The next question is, if we have more than one niche, do we create more than one website and Facebook page separately for this niche? No, you don't. But you need to prove that you are an expert on both verticals in your website, right? So let's say I wanted to advertise myself as an SEO and social media marketing company, right? Let's say that was the case. Then I would not put either service on my homepage. I would create a specialized SEO page and a specialized social media page and prove my expertise and my unique selling proposition against each service. So that's if I did two services. Let's talk about what if I cover two verticals. If I cover two verticals, let's say I guess let's say physicians and dentists might be a good way to cover it. Then you need to create a page that talks about the service that you do specifically for physicians and the service that you do specifically for dentists. And the way that you communicate to each vertical must be separate, meaning your content marketing for each vertical cannot be the same. Or else you're bunching all of your customers into one faceless group, which is not what you want to do. You want to make it very, very personal.
So there are a couple of questions here that I want to step in and answer specifically. The question is, what do you think of LinkedIn advertising and using it to generate leads? So my quick answer to that is that's not a good way to start your agency, except though if you're going to focus on LinkedIn in-mails. So we have to differentiate first on the different services of LinkedIn. LinkedIn offers a lot of different services. LinkedIn advertising, the one wherein you post within, wherein it's basically boosting in Facebook, not a good investment. For you get maybe one lead every $20 or $30, and it's not highly visible. Correct. But LinkedIn in-mail, the one wherein you pay LinkedIn a monthly service so that you can message businesses even if you're not connected to them, that's something that you can actually leverage and use.
Right.
Because this way, you can connect to different businesses even if they haven't added you yet. So it's an easy way for you to reach out to certain people that you wouldn't have been able to reach out in the first place. Of course, you have to find a common ground. The second question is, we get asked this a lot, is, will the site analysis tool, I think this is asking about the site audit, ever be updated to include their contact information and some good calls to action? This is one of our priorities, and it is within our roadmap for this year. So I guess the big, you might hate me for this, but I guess the big answer for this is just wait for a couple of more weeks, and you're going to see the new announcements that we have in store for you.
Right. Now, I think one of the questions that got left behind is, what do we think about YouTube advertising? And what I might say is, if you're only starting your agency now, you may not have enough budget for YouTube advertising. And so your video content, I would recommend, is better published on Facebook, because you get more bang for your buck in terms of, if it's awareness you're trying to drive, you will get more bang for your buck by posting it on Facebook versus creating YouTube as your primary channel for advertising. Again, if you're building your business or if you're building your agency, you probably want to start off with where you can get the most reach and where you can create the most noise. The next one is, if my agency can only do one passive lead generation tactic, what would it be? So I'll let Joshua answer this first. I have a feeling our answers are different.
Oh yeah, our answers are going to be different. My biggest thing really is that it depends on what stage you are in already. If you're just starting out now and your website is just created now, I really suggest that you focus on social first via Facebook advertising. But you also don't neglect your SEO. And my big thing about it, and with this, Burns will agree, is that SEO is momentum driven.
Right.
I always hear this from Burns. And because it's momentum driven, you cannot expect a lot of results on the first month. So what you do is that you build your SEO from the start, and then you have Facebook advertising to deliver the results for you in the first month. But then as your SEO gets stronger, then you wean out of Facebook advertising.
Right. Okay, so I think my answer actually aligns with yours. So I'm going to answer this differently. And the question is, when am I ready for SEO? And the answer to that is, it depends on how much mileage you still have left on your handshake closes. So I remember a lot of our agency partners when they started, they really leveraged going to events for starters. And it was the sales that they closed in these events that allowed them to build their first portfolio of clients. And that's also the money that they used to invest in their SEO. When their website was ranking, the leads just started coming in. Meaning, and it was always easy to win a conversation because if they said, so why should I give you my SEO business? Because look, I'm ranking for my keywords, right? And what better proof is there in the pudding than in the eating? So that's how I would answer that question.
So I have a Facebook specific question here. So in Facebook advertising, the question is, do you use? I'm rephrasing this, but essentially the question is, in Facebook advertising, do you use Facebook's own lead generation service, wherein you get the lead or the contact information within the Facebook ad itself, or do you still funnel them to your landing page or to your lead magnet and then convert them in that landing page? So to answer that question, what really happens, what the effect really is in the after conversion activities that you're gonna do. What I mean by that is, when you get the contact information already, you're of course gonna call the person or you're gonna send an email to them, and then you're gonna get, when you do that, you're actually gonna get the variance between the two sources. And what I mean by that is, what I noticed based on experience is when you do Facebook advertising and you put the when you put the lead capture within Facebook itself, you get a lot more leads, but you also get a lot more leads who are not that into what you're offering, or basically not that engaged by your product, as compared to people who get converted within a landing page or within the lead magnet. You get a lot more leads who have a high intention to get your actual product or service.
Okay. Now, the next question, interesting. It says, how do you find the decision maker and how do you approach them? This is easy, and it's easier than you think, and I'll make it really, really, really simple. For better or for worse, business owners, business decision makers have an ounce of vanity in them. So do you know what I would do? I would go to Google and I would type site LinkedIn.com, open quote, company name plus founder, close quote. And I would do that for every business that I was looking to target. I would try variations of founder, business owner, president, CEO. That's how you find the decision maker. Another great question. As an agency, should I go local or broader reach? I would say try your hand in local first. Your biggest advantage when it comes to local is you're able to shake hands and be face-to-face. If you haven't invested in SEO yet, you're not ranking yet. And if you're not ranking, the easiest way to acquire trust is with a handshake. Local expertise goes a long way in closing a sale. Local presence, your ability to be accountable as a human being to another human being, is a great trust builder. So I would leverage that. When do you go broader? When you're running out of handshake closing options. That's when you go broader.
So I like this next question, and it's a very interesting question. If my leads are offline and they're not online, how do I create a good lead magnet for them? And I will ask this to Bernard.
Okay. So if my leads are offline and they're not online, okay. But let's define not online, meaning they're not looking for the service provider online or don't have a website.
Don't have a website. But
Then
you can reach them primarily. You can reach them primarily offline, but they want a website, or they need a website.
okay. I would call them. I would. So They may not be online, but I have online tools that can remind me to keep them warm and keep them in touch. So just because, they probably have an email address because I don't think anybody keeps a fax number anymore. But they probably have an email address and you have access to that email address. Keep that email address in whatever lead in whatever lead management tool you have and stay consistently in touch with them. Remember the tip that we had for you guys on the previous webinar was the responsibility for keeping the relationship is with you. And this happens to us because I think we've told you guys before, we have a local agency presence in the Philippines. And this happens. We have a lot of traditional clients, right? But this is also why you want to go to events because in those events, there are people that have been thinking about going digital for a long time, but just have not met the right person that could encourage them into the right decision.
One of the most effective to answer this question further, one of the most effective lead magnets that I've seen a lot of our partners do is even offline they offer the free consultation in their business cards. So in the business cards that they send out or they give out to
Right.
local chambers of commerce, they offer specific free consultation so that people that they meet offline can still schedule them on the free consultation, and eventually they can close these people offline.
Okay. The next one actually is easier than you think. So someone says, I think those without a website would be a tough sell. How do you convince them? In my opinion, easy. Show them a website of someone in the similar industry, someone they might be competing with, and show them how beautiful it is. And then get anecdotal testimonials from the people that own these businesses about how much better their businesses have run ever since they go digital. In short, get your existing clients to become your advocates and your walking, talking billboards for you. They may not walk around in events swearing to the high heavens how great you were, but if you can get that on paper, you can bring it around with you. And this is how you would convince them. And I know that for some of you guys, you might feel it's a tough sell, but take it from someone that does this in the local scene. It's easier than you think. It is so easy to get someone online.
So I guess to emphasize that the biggest thing that you'd want to do there is to educate, then show them what they're lacking, and then convert.
And I think with that, we've just about run out of time. So if you guys continue to have questions, send them over on chat, send us an email, and we'll respond to it as soon as we can. You guys can email us at info@seoreseller.com in case you have a question that you must have answered. And don't forget, if you're interested or curious in piloting the new tools that we've released, the new features that we've released, feel free to follow this link, bit.ly/release waitlist. And we'll see you on the next webinar. I hope that you guys walk away from this conversation with a couple of actionable items that we always try to give you in these webinars. And we'll talk to you soon on the next webinar. Thank you very much for spending the time with us. It's highly appreciated.
Thank you, Bernard, as well.
Yeah, and thanks for joining me, Josh. Cheers, guys.